for discourses. He left Lubavitch, he discontinued saying this series of Maimorim. He says, for after Lubavitch, he's not saying Hemshech Hayim Beis. He started to say single Maimorim, or even Hemshechim, but shorter ones, simpler ones, taking consideration also where he moved to Rostov. So he had Poshet Balabatim there, so he said the different style Maimorim. Although he kept on writing this Hemshech, this series, this work, he continued for another 2 years. He added more and more. And today we have 3 volumes, Chelik Shalei MaMaar. I involve. So he went out Balabatim, was supposed to simple people. So he said, he stopped the Hemshech. He said, the Hemshech is for Lubavitch. And after that he stopped saying, he started to say other Maimorim. So these 144 Maimorim, discourses, were actually a whole series of Maimorim. But that's not all that he said in the 3.5 years. This is all as one series. But he also said single Maimorim or smaller series of Maimorim alongside, in certain time periods. So, B'meila, this is in everything, that everything serves as a continuation from before and as a introduction to later. So, therefore, when it comes to a series of Maimorim, there's sometimes a deep topic that is being discussed. By the end of the Maimah, the discourse, he will answer the questions of the beginning of the discourse. So, therefore, basically, the answers to the questions, usually when it comes to a series of discourses, is at the end of every discourse separately. The Inyan HaNisoyen, he explains, the Inyan HaNisoyen who has their panim shenimshach meila mateo. The Inyan of Nisoyen, which is a trial and tribulation, shows a concealment of a revelation, a concealment of the image of godliness. And where does it come from? It comes from Eila Mateo, which Eila Mateo is the world of chaos, a world that collapsed, a spiritual world, completely spiritual, that collapsed. And the sparks need to be restored back to their sources, to their roots. So therefore, in them, we don't see any godliness. It's all in the physical objects. The sparks are actually concealed and exiled and have fallen into this physical world.
And the sparks have to be restored back to Tohu?
Have to be restored back, it says, to Tikkun is accomplishing that it's rebuilding, in a sense, rebuilding the world of Eila Mateo, but not the way. I don't know if it's the world of Eila Mateo, but it's rebuilding it in a way that it's according to Tikkun, which is channels and vessels, broad vessels, in order that it should be able to contain the revelation in them. So this is Nisoyan. This is the union of a Nisoyan, a trial, tribulation. Because what is a trial? A trial and tribulation, Nisoyan, is that a person does not see any light in the end of the tunnel. But it's not really a true thing. It's not something of truth or
Permanence.
Right, or has any substance. It is something which is just an image in front of the person. The person should feel that there are certain obstacles, as it was by Avraham Avinu when he needed to go to Akedah. So he had the water, a body of water, and then he had other things that were blocking him, which this was the image that he saw. So therefore, when a person breaks it through, it is actually breaking through even more yet than a regular refinement that he accomplishes by refining and taking a spark of Kedusha, a spark of a sacred spark which was lost, and returning it and refining it and elevating it. Because an Nisoyan is actually something which is also from the word Nes, that means it brings up, it lifts up the person. So it's Vavrom Sha'amad B'chol.
Is the process only fixing the vessels and not the light itself?
It's the light, once the vessels are fixed, so therefore the light later resumes back. So it's the vessels, that they should be vessels to be able to receive the light. The difference also between a Nisoyan and refine and Avedas HaBirurim. Avedas HaBirurim means refining the sparks. And Nisoyan is the union of going through a trial tribulation. The difference is that in a Birurim, in refining something, we are dealing with the matter, the physical matter in this physical world. Nisoyan is something which is elevating the person himself. It's elevating the person. The person himself is elevated to a higher level. Mashenkim, when we're speaking about birurim, refining, the focus is on the spark. The spark is being restored to a higher level, elevated to a higher level.
Person doesn't get
He gets reward that he accomplished what he accomplished, but it's not an ultimate shleimus that it's a direct aliyah for the person. It is. This is why it says Nasata l'reyecha nes lisnesis. It says the Eibishter has given Yidden a miracle, lisnesis, which is the inyan of miracle. But what is nes? The word nes is lashon aroma, uplifting. That it's uplifting the person. In lashon hanigla, it would be called, one is the chefza, one is the gavra. One is dealing with the matter itself, and one is dealing with the person. In nisyenas, it's the person himself. As the Tzemach Tzedek explains in Derech Mitzvah Secha, so for mitzvahs, the inyan of nisyenas, what a nisayon is. And then there's a maimer from the Frierdiker Rebbe, I think in 1948 or 49, Ki menaseh Hashem elokeichem eschem, also a maimer that discusses nisyenas. And then, actually, the maimer of the Rebbe Rashab, that he said on his last birthday, in Chof Cheshvan, Tafarish Pei, 1920, late 1919, Yemaledes, his birthday on the 20th of Cheshvan, this upcoming Shabbos. So he discusses 6 or more levels in Nisyenas, different categories of Nisyenas in that Maimon. So Avraham, Shamad B'chol HaNisyenas, Avraham that was able to come through all the Nisyenas, all the trials and tribulations. So he refined all the negative elements that conceal on the light of godliness, and its sacredness, and he accomplished. There should be the revelation of godliness in this physical world. That this is what the blessing consists of, that he should be control of his evil inclination. That he shouldn't have to wage war anymore with the Yetzer Hara, with the evil inclination, and with the evil element, with negative elements. They should be refined on their own in a simultaneous way. I know. Yeah.
He brought light into this physical world. That was to birur from below, or hamshachah milamayla, or both.
Nisyenas is birur milmata l'mayla, from below to above. It's him. It's dependent on the person to overcome a nisayon, a trial. So it's basically aveda b'keach atzmei. It's his aveda. And this is what he did. The nisyenas was like to his credit because he broke it through. So the difference is only, what is the difference between b'derech menucha, b'derech milchama? There's 2 ways a person wages war in a spiritual sense. One of them is b'derech milchama, that he has to wage war, which is similar to prayer. When a person davens, when a person prays, there are some negative thoughts that comes to the person's mind, and a person has to overcome them. So this is basically interfering in his prayer. When it comes to the learning is Torah accomplishes in the world in a simultaneous way. A simultaneous way that a Torah issues a verdict, and the verdict accomplishes that whatever needs to be accomplished in the world. So Torah, because Torah is a balabas, Torah is in control of the world. The world was created based on Hashem, the Almighty, looking into Torah. Istakol be'raiso baral, may created world. So Torah is the balabas on the world. So therefore, this would be called, in a peaceful way, refining. So the Rebbe Rashab says, and the Rebbe says in his discourse, that what is the blessing, the unique blessing that Avraham received, that he shouldn't need to wage any more war with the Yetzer Hara, with negative elements, but that they should be refined on their own. The work of Elam Atikon, which refines Elam Hateu, the chaos world, which is the world that collapsed, and all these sparks fell into different places. And as the Rebbe Marash says in a Maimer, that they fell into the 4 different rivers, which is the Nilos and the Pros and the different rivers which are around the world, which each one represents a different exile. So originally in Mitzrayim, from the 288 that sparks that fell, that descended in this world, so 202 fell into Mitzrayim. And Yidden took that out. They redeemed it when they came out of Egypt. And that's why it is called Ve'erev Rav Oleitam. Rav is 202. This is a remez. They took 202 from 288 sparks. So you'll ask a question as a seicher, why are we sitting in Golda so long with 86 left?